Don't fall for the same old fantasy football traps in 2025. Consensus rankings are stuck on last year's stats and results. But at Big Draft Energy, we're calling the shots for this upcoming season. Our top 10 fantasy football quarterback rankings are built on historically accurate projections, diving deep into offseason moves, rookie impacts, game scripts, and Vegas odds to uncover hidden gems. And our quarterback one on this list, well, I believe that this player is the greatest value in fantasy football history. And that player is none other than Patrick Mahomes. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for the Patrick Mahomes Revenge Tour. He's about to silence the haters in such a fantastic and incredible way, and I'm here for it. So let's start with why he's being faded and why he's gotten so much hate. Last year, the Chiefs got crushed by the Eagles in the Super Bowl, losing 40-22, and since then, the doubters have been loud. They're fading Mahomes, calling him overrated. They're saying that he was carried by the refs. They're talking about the Swiftie hype and the NFL script writers fixing the results for increased viewership and revenue. They point to his 12-0 record in one-score games in 2024, a 17-game winning streak in one-possession games, and scream, it's all luck. Well, I'm here to tell you, fade Mahomes at your own risk. This man is about to remind everyone why he's the young GOAT. Let's break it down. In 2024, the Chiefs ran the ball 42% of the snaps, the highest in the Mahomes era. But most of the runs went nowhere. Still, Mahomes was decent, dropping back on 581 pass attempts, which was third most, on 392 completions, fourth most, 3,928 passing yards, seventh most, 26 passing touchdowns, also ninth most, and 292.9 fantasy points, which was 11th, averaging 18.3 fantasy points per game. Not bad, right? Here's the problem. He was stuck dinking and dunking the rock. The Chiefs ranked 16th in explosive pass plays of 15 to 25 yards, completing just 9% of his 75 attempts. That is only 13 explosives all year in the air, which was an all-time low for Patrick Mahomes. Why? The offensive line was a disaster. Mahomes faced the fourth most pressures in the NFL on 152 of his dropbacks, which was on 23% of his dropbacks. He was hit 70 times, which was the most in the NFL, hurried 46 times, which was the eighth most, despite being blitzed only the 15th most. Why? The Chiefs' left tackle spot was a revolving door of nobodies, leaking 93% of his pressures. Their best fix was moving all-pro left guard Joe Thuney to tackle, which still wasn't remotely close to being good enough. Mahomes had the seventh worst pocket time in the NFL, even with teams rushing just 4 down linemen majority of the time. That's not a recipe for explosives. It's a recipe for survival. But here's where the revenge tour begins. This offseason, the Chiefs brass drafted Josh Simmons, an absolute unit at left tackle from Ohio State with a 31st overall pick. If not for an early season college injury, Simmons was a top 5 to 10 prospect, arguably the best tackle in this class. He's a steal, and he's protecting Mahomes' blind side. Meanwhile, Joe Thuney, the guy who was playing left guard and then played left tackle as a plug and play, well, he just signed with the Bears, leaving a hole at left guard. What does that mean? The Chiefs' run game, already shaky, is going to struggle even more, and with Vegas projecting the Chiefs for 435.5 points, the fourth highest implied total in 2025, Mahomes is about to air it out. Ultimately, here's why Mahomes is my QB1. More pass volume, more pocket time, more explosives. That's a formula for QB1 upside. Mahomes is going off the board as a QB6 in drafts, going in round 7 to 9 as the 80th player overall, behind guys like Isaiah Pacheco, David Montgomery, and Jerry Jeudy. That's a crime. With an improved offensive line and a pass-heavy game plan, Mahomes isn't just a great return on investment. He's got the ceiling to finish as a QB1. Even if he doesn't, his floor is still elite. This is the greatest value pick in fantasy football history. Don't sleep on Patrick Mahomes in 2025. Draft him, win your league, and join the revenge tour. Speaking of revenge tours, this next guy, he just fell up just a little short, and that's been the story of his career. Coming in and falling short of number one yet again is the reigning NFL most valuable player, none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Josh Allen. Now, let's talk facts. In 2024, Josh Allen was an absolute beast. He finished as the QB2 in fantasy points per game at 22.7, the QB2 in total fantasy points with 385.1, the QB7 in passing touchdowns with 28, and get this, QB2 in rushing touchdowns amongst quarterbacks with 12. Yes, this dude produces on the ground like a freaking running back. And here's the wild part. He did all that while ranking QB16 in completions, QB14 in pass attempts. That's elite efficiency, people. Now, the Bills' passing game in 2024, it wasn't perfect. They leaned heavily on Allen's dual threat ability because the receiving corps just wasn't clicking all the time, and it was pretty banged up throughout the year. But even with limited passing volume, Allen's efficiency was off the charts, delivering QB1 production week in and week out. Here's why 2025 is about to be even crazier. Vegas has the Bills with the number one implied points total schedule in the NFL, projecting a massive 457.5 points for the season. That's a green light for fantasy gold. Buffalo also bolstered their receiving corps by adding two key depth pieces like Joshua Palmer from the Los Angeles Chargers and Elijah Moore, who's just been traveling anywhere. Both legit wide receiver 2 options if any starters go down. With these upgrades and Allen's proven ability to carry the offense on the ground, add that with a high probability to have improved production as a passer, the sky is the absolute limit for this guy. He is as close to a sure thing in fantasy football as it gets. This dude delivers top 3 production year in and year out. No question, I'm happy drafting him in rounds 3 to 4 if he's available because his floor is sky high and his ceiling is MVP level dominance like we just saw. Whether he's airing it out or bulldozing in for a touchdown, Allen is a fantasy football cheat code. And with Vegas backing him to lead the league's highest scoring offense, it's common sense, folks. Just draft him whenever he's available, all right? This next guy, stop sleeping on him. Honestly, the disrespect is just absolutely crazy, and we're going to put a stop to it right now. Coming in at QB3 in my 2025 rankings is the defending Super Bowl MVP and the tush push king, Mr. Freaking Jalen Hurts. And y'all been sleeping on this man way too much and just disrespecting him way too much. I hate the comparisons with Cam Newton. They're completely different guys. Nevertheless, I'm going to stop getting sidetracked with this argument and just talk to you guys about why I love Jalen Hurts. Let's set the stage. In 2024, Jalen Hurts was a fantasy stud, finishing QB8 in total points with 320, QB6 in points per game at 21.3. And here's the kicker, QB1 in rushing touchdowns with a whopping 14. Yet again, that's right. Nobody scored on the ground like Hurts, and why? The tush push, baby. The most unstoppable play in football. Since 2021, Hurts has racked up 10, 13, 15, and 14 rushing touchdowns in each of those years. That is not slowing down in 2025. The Eagles still boast a top 2 offensive line as per PFF. The tush push is still legal. You can't freaking stop it. And their skill position group, it's stacked. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley make this one of the deepest arsenals in the NFL. But here's the thing. 2024 was a down year for Hurts passing because the Eagles ran the ball at a historic rate, most in NFL history, thanks to Saquon Barkley's Hall of Fame level season. That meant fewer pass attempts, but elite efficiency kept Hurts as one of the guys who's in the QB1 conversation. Now let's talk why 2025 is about to be huge for Hurts. And the reason why 2025 is going to be huge for Jalen Hurts is that run-heavy approach last season, it's not sustainable. Saquon led the league in touches last year, and history shows running backs who dominated that category the year prior crashed in fantasy production the following season. Add in the Madden curse and angry Giants fans voodoo, the odds of Barkley repeating that workload are slim to none. Plus, the Eagles' lights out 2024 defense, it's taken a hit. They've lost key pass rushers and closers in Josh Sweat, who went to Arizona, and Milton Williams, who went to my New England Patriots. They also lost key pieces in their secondaries, and Darius Slay, who signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason, and CJ Gardner-Johnson, who got traded to Houston. Translation, that means fewer clock-killing drives and more high-scoring shootouts. With a weaker defense, the Eagles won't be grinding out games with Saquon in the fourth quarter as much. Expect more passing volume, expect more explosive chunk plays, and more passing touchdowns in closer game scripts. Vegas also agrees with this sentiment, giving the Eagles a top 10 implied point total of 410-plus points for the 2025 season. Despite one of the toughest schedules in football, Hurts is a lock for 12-plus rushing touchdowns, and that's at his floor. And an uptick in an already efficient passing attack. Give him elite QB1 upside every single year, drafting him in rounds 4 to 5. Also a no-brainer. It's completely obvious. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks to draft in fantasy football. This next guy, guys, I'm so sorry, but I just don't love him this year, and I'll tell you why. Before I tell you why I don't like this next quarterback, I got to tell you who that next quarterback is, and that's Mr. Action Jackson, Lamar Jackson. And listen, okay, I know the consensus bros have him as a QB1 or QB2, and I'm dropping him to QB4. Buckle up, because this take is going to spark some heat, and I'm here to tell you why it's bang on, it's spot on, it's so perfect. It's common sense. You just need to think, okay? Let's talk about Lamar's 2024 first. It was unreal. He finished as the fantasy QB1 with a massive 434.4 fantasy points, blowing past his previous career high of 338 points in 2023 by nearly 100 points. Why? The Ravens' defense last season was a dumpster fire. They gave up the second most touchdowns, the eighth most passing yards, and were stuck in high-scoring shootouts week after week. Lamar had to carry the offense, airing it out and running wild to keep up. It was a fantasy manager's dream. But here's why 2025 is a different story. This offseason, Baltimore said enough and turned their defense from a liability to an absolute juggernaut. They revamped their secondary with Jair Alexander from Green Bay, a shutdown corner, and Chidobe Awuzie for depth. Hopefully I said his name right. They drafted Malachi Starks from Georgia, arguably the best deep ball defending safety in the 2025 class. And their pass rush, they snagged Mike Green from Marshall in the second round, a consensus top 20 talent in this year's draft. This defense went from one of the worst in 2024 to a top 5 unit easily in 2025. And if you do defense and special teams, that's probably one of the easiest and cheapest defenses to pick up. That is a game changer for Lamar Jackson's fantasy football outlook in 2025. Here's the deal. Lamar's monster 2024 was fueled by shootout game scripts. He had to pass and run like a madman to keep games close. But with a top 5 defense in 2025, the Ravens won't need him to play hero ball, especially in the fourth quarter. The power run game, led by Derrick Henry and elite defense, will close out games early, leaving Lamar with empty quarters for fantasy football production in your lineups. Fewer passes, fewer scrambles, fewer points. I can't justify a top 25 draft pick when last year's outlier production was driven by bad defense, and that's now fixed. Don't get me wrong. Lamar is still a beast. He'll run for TDs, make big plays, and finish as a QB1. But the days of 430 plus fantasy points, that's just not happening with a defense this good and game scripts tilting towards low scoring wins. Vegas has the Ravens as a top 10 implied point total at 452.5, but that's spread across a run heavy offense. At QB4, Lamar is still elite, but drafting him expecting a repeat of 2024 is an absolute trap. Speaking of traps, this next guy is somebody who I absolutely loved in 2024. He was one of my favorite takes, my favorite calls, one of my biggest long shots, and I nailed that call, and I'll tell you guys who it is. Coming in at number 5 is the sophomore sensation, a guy who I was all in on last year, the young phenom, the Slim Reaper, the 2024 Offensive Rookie of the Year, Mr. Jayden Daniels. Last year, I made some bold calls about this guy, and I was right, but this is why he's QB5 this season and not higher. Before we get into all that, let's rewind to last year's Hot Take City Twitter space, and this is why you guys are listening to me. Just of last season, by the way. I said Jayden Daniels would win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Ding, that was right. Finished as a top 5 fantasy quarterback, also correct. Lead the Commanders to the playoffs, nailed that, and I was even bold enough to say that he and the Commanders would push for an NFC Championship appearance. People laughed at me. Guess what? He delivered, and I was right. That's why you guys are here. Daniels had a historic dual threat rookie campaign, lighting up defenses with his arm and his legs. He proved he's a fantasy game changer, and in 2025, Commanders are doubling down to make him an even better asset. Washington went all in this offseason. They traded with the Texans for Laramie Tunzel, a legit left tackle to protect Daniels' blindside, a huge upgrade from the garbage they had last year. They also snagged Deebo Samuel, the perfect tweener receiver to pair with the aging Zach Ertz for efficient check down targets and completions. More protection, better weapons, and this Cliff Kingsbury offense, it screams for upside, and he's set up for a monster year on paper. So, yeah, on paper, this guy has QB1 upside written all over him. So why isn't he the QB1 or the QB2? Here's the cold water. It's volatility. Daniel's dual threat style, while electric, comes with risks. His slim frame and insane rushing usage under offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury makes him a prime candidate for injury. That was a tongue twister. In 2024, he was a one-man highlight reel, but that heavy running load screams missed games. I don't bet on injuries, but I can't ignore the red flags. His ceiling is QB1, no doubt about it. But the risks, or I should be more Canadian when I say that, new do to boot it, but the risk drops him to quarterback 5. Here's the kicker. Daniels is going 40 picks ahead of Patrick Mahomes, and 10 to 15 picks ahead of Jalen Hurts in drafts. That's just tough to justify. Mahomes has a safer floor and elite upside, and Hurts has the tush push lock for touchdown, so also a very safe floor. All right, folks, we're going to try to do the rest of these rapid fire, so bear with me. We're going to read this right off the script. And coming in at number 6 is my guy, Mr. Joe Burr, Joey the franchise. He was phenomenal for me last year. Absolutely spectacular. Loved everything and anything about the season he had last year. And he carried my fantasy teams. I called him the best value QB in 2024, and he delivered big. But last year is last year, and I'm pumping the brakes on this year. I was all in on him last year. I called him as my quarterback 1, stacked him with Jamar Chase, who was my fantasy football player number 1, and I rode the Jamar Chase no matter what bandwagon, didn't matter what format, what position, what premium it was always Jamar Chase no matter what. I also pegged Chase Brown, as a top 10 running back, and that Bengals stack took my best ball lineup in the Drafters Mini to 22nd out of 54,000 people. Why? Our big draft energy algorithm nailed it. The Bengals had the most advantageous passing and scoring schedule in 2024, with 12 out of 17 matchups favoring Burrow's production. He delivered 4,918 yards and 43 touchdowns. League winner stuff. But 2025, it's a different vibe. Everyone's hyping Burrow for like 5,000 passing yards and 50 touchdowns as his floor. Everyone except myself in Vegas. They've got him at 4150.5 passing yards. That's 800 less than he completed and finished with last year. They got him at 33.5 passing touchdowns, which is 10 fewer than he finished with in 2024. And I forgot he also had 2 rushing touchdowns last year, but you can't really bet on that prop. So why the drop? The Bengals' schedule is brutal. 4 games at least have significantly improved secondaries, with the Pittsburgh Steelers adding in Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey to an already stud cornerback who is a cornerback 1 on any other team, Joey Porter Jr. And then the Ravens, we talked about their improvements last year. You add Jair Alexander, Chidobe Awuzie, and Malachi Starks to Marlon Humphrey and freeing up Kyle Hamilton, you're talking about a nasty gauntlet for any quarterback. Here's the bigger issue: Burrow's durability. In his young career, every other season, he's missed significant time due to injury. 2024 was a healthy outlier, and we profited significantly, but history says he's due for a scare. Add that to a Bengals defense that was historically bad in 2024. They might lose Trey Hendrickson, their sack leader, via trade. Sure, they got a top 5 implied point total. I'm sure that defense is absolutely garbage, but with a tougher schedule and no guarantee of like actual legitimate shootouts because everybody's just going based off of last year's results, this TD dependent production in the air feels very shaky. So why QB6? Burrow's still elite, and the Bengals offense with Chase and Chase Brown and T. Higgins is absolutely fire. But his 5th round ADP, 40 picks higher than where he was going last year when he was a league winner, is way too rich for me. I can't bank on touchdown dependency quarterbacks with injury risk and brutal schedule to repeat 2024's magic. I'm going to leave 2024's magic in 2024. I was very grateful for it. I thought it was absolutely spectacular. What I'm not leaving in 2024 is this guy, the check down king, coming in at number 7. We got the quarterback that nobody saw coming. That's none other than Mr. Bo Nix. And I slept on him in 2024. I'm not going to lie. I'm not making that mistake again in 2025. Let's talk about 2024. Bo Nix was a revelation, delivering insane return on investment as a rookie. He finished QB9 in fantasy points per game at 19.3, QB7 in total fantasy points with 328.1, QB7 passing touchdowns with 29, QB6 in completions, and QB8 in rushing yards with 430 on the ground. Oh, and he tied Lamar Jackson as QB5 in rushing TDs with 4 on the season. All this without cracking the top 10 in passing yards, which is bonkers. That efficiency, folks, makes him a league winner for those who drafted him, and I'm very, very jealous because I wasn't one of those guys. Now, 2025 is where Bo Nix is going to go absolutely nuclear. The Broncos are stacking the deck. They've got the number 1 PFF ranked offensive line, a fortress for Nix after he took 38 sacks last year. So not a heck of a lot. He was very efficient, very protected. It's going to be great. They signed Evan Ingram, a dynamic tight end, to fill Sean Payton's famous Joker role. Shout out to Sleazebomb for being the first on just covering this transition and this connection between Sean Payton and Evan Ingram. I love that call. He's absolutely brilliant. That's why the guy's FF is him and I, because he's him, the guy after me. But moving on, they added RJ Harvey. They spent the draft capital to get an elite pass catching back with a lot of explosive upside. They also invested in J.K. Dobbins for a balanced backfield, boosting the play action attack and touchdown efficiency. Plus, they re-signed their touchdown machine, Cortland Sutton, and brought in Pat Bryant as a legitimate wide receiver 2 in this year's draft. This offense is loaded. So why QB7? Because Bo Nix is a steal at his QB8 ADP in rounds 9 to 10, straight up criminal for his upside. With better protection, elite weapons, and Sean Payton's scheme, expect a heck of a lot more production in the air than last year, a heck of a lot more passing touchdowns, and even more rushing touchdowns. He's the check down king. He's one of my favorite props on a yearly basis, to on a weekly basis as well, to just bet on the over of his passing completions, because he just takes what's there. He's a check down king within that system. He's absolutely brilliant. Coming in at number 8 is another guy whom I find absolutely brilliant, is Justin Fields, the running quarterback. And he's the 2024 quarterback who deserved better, because Arthur Smith, Russell Wilson, Mike Tomlin, they all did the boy dirty, and I hate that. So coming in at number 8 is a dual threat dynamo, Justin Fields. This guy's a fantasy football cheat code, and thanks to D-Bro's tweet and his killer analysis, I'm doubling down and drafting him everywhere. Let's talk numbers. As per D-Bro on Twitter, he says Fields has been a stud as a starter, QB7 in 2022, QB9 in 2023, and QB5 in 2024 in a points per game, so on a points per game basis. Last year in weeks 1 to 6 with the Jets, he averaged 38.5 rushing yards. Last year with the Steelers, he averaged 38.5 rushing yards per game. That pace would have ranked 5th amongst quarterbacks, right behind Jalen Hurts. That elite rushing upside, folks, is why that is elite rushing upside, folks, and it's why Fields is a no-brainer for 2025. Why QB8? Fields is in the perfect spot with the Jets. He's got Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall as weapons with new head coach Aaron Glenn's offense, and it's built around his dual threat skills and ability. Rushing upside is the secret sauce in fantasy football quarterbacks, and Fields is the poster child. His legs guarantee a floor that is higher than most, and his arm's good enough to keep defenses honest and really just keep him on the field all the time. Drafting him in rounds 9 to 11 is like stealing candy from a baby. D-Bro nailed it. Fields is a top 10 lock, and I'm calling him a QB8. Coming in at number 9, we got my guy. Oh, no, that's him again. All right, we got my guy, Jordan Love. He's the most slept on quarterback this year. In 2024, that injury hurt me the most. What hurt the most was that game in Rio. That was terrible. So, we got the gunslinger, Jordan Love. This guy's being slapped on hard, and I'm here to tell you why he's a fantasy steal. That'll make your league mates regret fading him, and you will regret fading him too. So listen carefully, okay? Let's talk 2024. Jordan Love started the season with a scare. His calf popped in week 1, down at the very end of the game against the Philadelphia Eagles in Rio, where everybody was slipping and sliding, and the field was just terrible. And it looked like a season ender, but this dude's tougher than nails. He was back by week 4 against the Minnesota Vikings, putting up almost 400 passing yards, battling through a calf recovery and groin issue that he was dealing with later on. That would have benched most quarterbacks. Despite playing only 14 out of 17 fantasy relevant games, Love was top 5 in nearly every explosive passing category when healthy. Think big plays, deep shots, and clutch touchdowns. That's elite production. Now, 2025, Love's about to feast. The Packers have the most balanced and complete roster in the NFL. They drafted my guy, Matthew Golden, an explosive wide receiver in round 1 finally, and I think he's a yards after the catch savant with the 22nd overall pick. A game changer for this offense. Pair him with Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, a healthy Luke Musgrave, and Josh Jacobs in this backfield with a dominating run game, opening up play action chunk plays. You've got a dream setup. Matt LaFleur's high-powered offense scheme drives on big plays. You got Matthew Golden, a healthy Love with 2 legs. It's a completely perfect fit. Vegas projects the Packers for a top 10 implied point total. I think they're going to smash this and then some. I got them going to the Super Bowl representing the NFC. He's a lock for top 10 production. And his QB18 ADP is absolutely criminal. Going in rounds 12 to 14 is straight up disrespectful. Last year, he got it out 3,389 passing yards, 25 passing touchdowns, despite injuries that would have benched most. All right, coming in at number 10, it's a toss-up. Like, I'm going back and forth. Is it Kyler Murray? Is it Jared Goff? Is it Baker Mayfield? Is it who else? Dak Prescott? Is it Tua Tagovailoa? Is it CJ Stroud? Is it any of these guys? And the answer is no, it's none of them. It's fucking Trevor Lawrence. And I'm sorry for cursing, But I'm done with the Trevor Lawrence fade and the Trevor Lawrence disrespect. Everybody's calling him Trevor Mid Lawrence. Shout out to my guy Laquan from the NFL Network. But he's not mid. He just had worse than mid coaching. Now he's got an elite play caller and an elite head coach and an elite leader. He's got two spectacular wide receivers. They now know what they have with Brian Thomas Jr. There are so many vacated targets. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to go absolutely nuclear this year. You got the good coaching. Everybody was writing off Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year after Canales left them, and everybody's like, who the hell is this Liam Cohen guy? And Liam Cohen only led one of the most successful, productive, explosive offenses, almost doubling the production that Canales did in the year prior. With that being said, folks, that is that. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the video. If you like the video, like the freaking video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Catch us live Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, doing highly competitive best ball drafts on Drafters Fantasy. Make sure you use promo code DISCO to double your first deposit dollar for dollar. And until next time, guys, hold on. I got to add my outro video here. All right. Until next time, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. God bless you. Until next time, let's crush all of our fantasy opponents. Let's steal their spirits and let's win. Let's win with dominance. Peace.